By late 1944, Manila Bay should have been a graveyard for the Imperial Japanese Navy. Yet two ships, Abukuma, crippled but afloat, and Asagiri, still operational, remained, defying the odds. Their survival was a statistical anomaly. Most of their peers lay at the bottom of the Pacific. These ships had endured countless battles, torpedoes, and air raids, outlasting the empire they served. Their story is not of victory, but of endurance and improbable survival. To understand why they were still afloat, we must trace their journeys through the chaos of the Pacific War. This is the story of the fleet that shouldn't have existed. Abukuma, a Nagara-class light cruiser launched in 1921, was already old when war erupted. As flagship of Destroyer Squadron 1, she led destroyers into battle, coordinating attacks and providing fire support. She was present at Pearl Harbor, then swept through the Dutch East Indies, always at the forefront. Her survival owed much to her reassignment to the Aleutians in 1942, a harsh but quieter theater. While her sisters perished in the Solomons, Abukuma patrolled the cold northern seas, avoiding the worst carnage. Even there, danger was constant. At the Komandorsky Islands, she faced American cruisers and lived to fight again. Abukuma's journey was one of constant motion, luck, and resilience. She was a survivor in a navy running out of time. Asagiri, a Fubuki-class destroyer, represented a bold leap forward in naval engineering. She was fast, heavily armed, and designed with offense in mind. The Fubuki class itself was revolutionary, setting new standards for destroyers worldwide with its advanced weaponry and speed. Asagiri embodied the spirit of innovation and ambition that defined the Imperial Japanese Navy in the years leading up to World War II. In the chaos of battle, Asagiri played a pivotal role in the destruction of the USS Houston and HMAS Perth at the Battle of Sunda Strait. This engagement showcased Japanese destroyer tactics at their absolute peak: coordinated torpedo attacks, night fighting, and relentless aggression. The victory was a testament to the training and discipline of her crew, as well as the technological edge provided by her class. But the Solomons campaign would prove unforgiving. In August 1942, Asagiri met her fate when American bombers struck with deadly precision, sending her to the bottom. The loss was a stark reminder of the shifting tides of war and the growing dominance of air power in naval battles. Yet, the name Asagiri refused to fade into history. In 1944, as Japan's situation grew desperate, a new Matsu-class destroyer was launched and christened Asagiri, carrying forward the legacy of her predecessor. This second Asagiri was a different kind of warship, smaller, less heavily armed, and built not for glory, but for survival. Her primary mission was to escort convoys, protect vital supply lines, and endure the relentless attacks from enemy submarines and aircraft. She entered service at a time when Japan's fortunes were collapsing. The new Asagiri was tasked with defending convoys against ever-present threats, fighting a losing battle to keep Japan's war machine supplied as the Allies closed in from all sides. The new Asagiri became a symbol of adaptation and resilience, less powerful than her predecessor, but built for the desperate, final phase of the war. Her crew faced constant danger, knowing that survival was now the ultimate measure of success. Her presence in the Philippines was a testament to the Navy's last-ditch efforts to hold back the tide. She sailed through tropical waters, braving air raids and submarine attacks, embodying the determination of a Navy fighting against overwhelming odds. In the end, Asagiri was a survivor by both design and necessity, a warship forged in crisis. Her story, a reflection of Japan's struggle and adaptation in the face of inevitable defeat. On December 7, 1941, Abukuma and the original Asagiri began their war on opposite fronts. Abukuma, flagship of the carrier strike force, guarded the Kido Butai during the Pearl Harbor attack. Her mission: protect the carriers, ensure their safe return. Meanwhile, Asagiri escorted troop transports for the invasion of Malaya, launching Japan's southern offensive. Both ships played vital roles, one striking at America's fleet, the other securing new territory. Their paths reflected the dual nature of Japan's strategy-decisive battle and relentless expansion. December 7th set them on divergent journeys, each shaped by the demands of a global war. Their fates would be determined by where those paths led. After early victories in the Pacific, the fates of two Japanese destroyers, Abukuma and Asagiri, diverged dramatically. Their paths split, one heading to the frigid, remote north, the other to the perilous, tropical south. Abukuma's transfer to the Aleutians, a chain of windswept, icy islands, spared her from the relentless carnage that engulfed the Solomons. In the north, she faced a different kind of enemy: brutal storms, freezing fog, and the constant threat of lurking submarines beneath the churning, gray waves. Meanwhile, in the south, the Solomons became a graveyard for ships. Here, vessels vanished almost daily, consumed by fierce naval battles and sudden ambushes. The waters were littered with burning wrecks and twisted metal. Abukuma endured the harsh elements and the ever-present danger of enemy submarines, but she avoided the catastrophic losses suffered by the main fleet in the Solomons. Asagiri, on the other hand, was thrust into the infamous Tokyo Express runs to Guadalcanal, high-speed, high-risk missions under constant threat from Allied aircraft and warships. Every night run was a gamble with death. On August 28, 1942, Asagiri's luck ran out. She was caught by American dive bombers, struck with deadly precision, and sent to the bottom. Her fate sealed in a matter of minutes, a fate shared by many destroyers in the Solomons campaign. Her loss was typical of the campaign: swift, violent, and final. The Solomons devoured destroyers with merciless regularity. Abukuma's survival was as much a matter of geography as of luck. The Aleutians, though harsh and unforgiving, offered a kind of refuge from the slaughter in the south. The men aboard Abukuma braved freezing winds and icy decks, but they lived to see another day, spared from the inferno that claimed so many of their comrades. The Solomons became a watery grave for countless ships, while the Aleutians, though bleak, allowed some to survive. In the end, the geography of war determined who lived and who died. For Abukuma, the cold north meant another chance at survival. For Asagiri, the deadly south meant only oblivion, a stark reminder of how fate and location shaped the destinies of ships and men in the vast Pacific War. By October 1944, the tides of war had turned decisively against Japan. Once a dominant force in the Pacific, the Imperial Japanese Navy now found itself desperately trying to defend its shrinking empire from the relentless advance of Allied forces. In a final bid to change the course of the war, Abukuma joined Operation Shogo, the last great gamble at Leyte Gulf, a massive naval confrontation that would decide the fate of the Philippines and, ultimately, the Pacific War. Assigned to Vice Admiral Nishimura's southern force, Abukuma and her crew sailed bravely into the narrow waters of Surigao Strait, determined to break through the American blockade and strike a decisive blow. Unbeknownst to them, a formidable American fleet lay in wait, perfectly positioned for a deadly ambush under the cover of darkness. In the chaotic opening moments, a swift American PT boat launched a torpedo that struck Abukuma with devastating force, crippling her engines and forcing her to fall out of formation, unable to keep pace with the rest of the fleet as the battle raged on. Ironically, this single fateful hit spared Abukuma from the annihilation that soon befell the rest of Nishimura's force, which was decimated by overwhelming American firepower. Badly damaged and alone, Abukuma limped away from the carnage, her decks scarred and her crew shaken, but still afloat. Yet her reprieve was only temporary. The open sea offered little refuge for a wounded ship. The following day, as dawn broke, American bombers spotted the crippled cruiser, defenseless, slow, and isolated from any support. Wave after wave of bombs rained down, setting Abukuma ablaze and igniting fires that raged uncontrollably across her decks. Secondary explosions from her ammunition stores tore through the hull, sealing her fate and making survival impossible. With the ship engulfed in flames and sinking fast, the captain gave the order to abandon ship. Crew members scrambled to lifeboats, leaving behind the vessel that had been their home through so many battles. Abukuma, a veteran of Pearl Harbor and the Aleutian campaigns, had survived countless dangers, but her luck had finally run out. She slipped beneath the waves off Negros Island, leaving behind only oil and debris as a silent testament to her end. Her final resting place was not the famed Manila Bay, as some might have expected, but her fate was forever intertwined with the desperate, bloody battles that marked the end of Japan's naval power in the Philippines. Abukuma survived longer than most of her sister ships, enduring against all odds, only to be overwhelmed at last by the sheer might of American air power, which no ship could withstand for long. As the empire she served crumbled around her, Abukuma's journey came to a tragic end. Her war was over, and with her sinking, another chapter in the Pacific conflict closed forever. Manila Bay became a graveyard after Leyte Gulf, littered with the wrecks of the shattered Japanese fleet. Abukuma's name became symbolic of the ships lost in the Philippine campaign, a ghost among the ruins. Most survivors were hunted down by American aircraft. The illusion of safe harbor shattered. Yet, the new Asagiri remained afloat, assigned to escort duties in these perilous waters. Built for defense, she was armed for anti-aircraft and anti-submarine warfare, not fleet actions. Her survival was a mix of luck, role, and the changing nature of naval war. Asagiri became a phantom, an operational warship in a sea of wrecks. She was the last shadow of a fleet that had all but vanished. The second Asagiri, a Matsu-class destroyer, was a product of desperation, simple, rugged, and built for survival. Commissioned in late 1944, she entered a war Japan had already lost. Her missions escort convoys, hunt submarines, and dodge relentless air attacks. Every voyage was a gamble. Many sister ships lasted only months. Yet, Asagiri endured, performing the unglamorous work that kept Japan's last supply lines open. She survived the war, one of the few destroyers still afloat at surrender. Her end was quiet, disarmed, used for repatriation, then scrapped in 1947. Asagiri was a survivor, always waiting for a final battle that never came. Her story is one of endurance, not victory. She was the last of a lost fleet. Abukuma and the two Asagiris reveal the hidden stories of the Pacific War. They were not the famous flagships, but the backbone. Survivors shaped by luck, geography, and adaptation. Abukuma's long journey mirrored the rise and fall of the Imperial Japanese Navy. The first Asagiri was lost in the firestorm of the Solomons. The second endured by avoiding battle. Their stories challenged the simple narrative of unstoppable American victory. Even as defeat loomed, pockets of Japanese resilience remained. In the end, survival depended less on firepower than on adaptation and chance. The fleet that shouldn't have existed became a symbol of endurance in a war it could never win.